on some contract related things, some contract administration. So the first thing I like to touch on is, these are my assistant directors currently. Matt Crum, no change there. Russell Keys, both of them are here today. And Adam Gonzalez has been named officially at the end of last year. So any contract related issues as far as like lettings, that type of thing, pre-qual, I'm sure you'll be hearing from him if you haven't already. So whenever you speak to him, he can help you out. His staff can help you out with that type of stuff. So that's the only change as far as my, I guess, upper management goes. My regional construction engineers, no change. Jason Hamilton's still here in the valley. Mike Withrow's up north. Jason Tharp's in Eastern Panhandle, and Matt Rowland is still District 9 and 10. So no changes there either. Quick look at what work we put out last year compared to previous years. 894 million, pretty in line with what we've typically done the last couple of years. So I think it's been a pretty good year. This, of course, does not include any purchase orders. So this is just contract work. As everybody is aware, should be aware, we've started to give contractors access for certain functions in AWP. If you go to our website, DOT, DOH, Contract Administration, there's some links there for you to get signed up and get access to it. So you need to get on there, get that form, and submit it to the district of whichever project you want access to. Once you have it access, you can go in there, generate reports, look to see what's come and what work that's been accomplished. Anything for your respective company. So whoever you want to have access to that, submit it to the district, and then they'll send it to us to process it. Okay. Along those same lines, we've also tasked contractors to approve change orders in AWP and this is for projects led October 8th and moving forward. On that same link, same page, at the bottom, there's some, I guess, help process manual on how that's accomplished. So whenever you submit your person to have access to this, make sure that's somebody that is authorized to sign documents, because that person is going to be the one who will be getting the change orders. I don't know of any that's went through this yet. I guess come spring, we'll see how this works. That it's pretty simple, it's pretty straightforward. Once you get in there, I don't think you'll have any issues with this. And you'll be able to go in there and check the status of these, who was pending with, and go bother them if you're wanting to know where your change order is. All right, so this is the thing I really wanted to touch on. We've been talking about purchase orders at AWP for a while now. We've been working with Infotech, who's our partner with the Action Aware project, to come up with a mechanism for us to do this. And there's a bunch of advantages if we can get this to work. You know, allow our PO projects just to be treated like any normal contract that we put out. We've been awarded, document the work, do material certifications, tracking, and hopefully make payments, just like we do on regular contracts. You'll have the same project reporting, same tracking capabilities, and it should make the whole PO process more uniform and consistent throughout the state and throughout all the districts. And it lets us implement e-ticketing on purchase orders. So right now, we have every PO, I'm being told anyway, is in AWP right now. So we can, any PO that's generated, we can do the same thing in AWP, and we can administer these, but during both tracks, if we want to try like a pilot thing, and I think that's what we want to try to do early on. But there are some questions we still need to answer, work out. some of you are probably involved in a meeting we have internally with DOH next week with some of the people in the district's operations on the finance side to see how this is going to work on the front end and hopefully how it's going to work on the back end with our hopefully integration with Oasis and their payments. You know, we want to be able to pay these just like we do your regular contract work. And I think we can get there, but these are different. They're procured differently right now. So it may take us a while to come up with a mechanism and a process to make these work. I do want to say too that, you know, these, I think, have historically been treated a little bit differently than our regular contract for whatever reason. And it's, you know, we want our people to treat these just like a normal contract. We want the work to be as good, better. We want the materials to meet specs. We want it documented correctly. We want our contractors to put the same work and effort into it. So hopefully this will help get us there. So that's really all I got. This is my contact information and some of the people on my staff. So thanks if you got any questions. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you for the updates. Thank you for letting us know the changes we have to look forward coming to us. I appreciate it. Next, I have Doug Kirk. He's going to remind us of the importance of getting our roadways relaxed. So thank you.
I'm supposed to tell them what? All right, this is a bit of a challenge visually. Good morning, my name is Doug Kirk. I'm currently the Chief of Environmental Compliance. Some of you may know me from my 20 years in the drainage unit, so that might give you a little bit of a clue of what I might want to talk about this morning. Do I have a clicker, or do I just link it?
There's a clicker up there somewhere.
Oh, here we go. All right. So, the button on the right, perfect. All right, so 20 years in drainage, and there's some fun pictures for you. So, the mission statement of the Division of Highways is to responsibly provide a safe, efficient, and reliable transportation system that supports economic development, economic opportunity, and quality of life. So that's what we're about, and everything else we do just supports that. So that's what we always need to keep in mind, is what we're doing. Does it support this mission statement? So we spend millions of dollars every year, and we still have messes like this. Now, this is an old picture that's now been repaired. District 10 probably remembers this. But we still have a lot of disasters going on in spite of our lavish budget. So what are we doing wrong? Maybe it's a material choice. Okay, so there you can see a pipe that's going to last a long time and a pipe that didn't last very long. All right, so asphalt versus concrete. What do you think? Oh, wait, that's somebody else's talk. Sorry, I'm not going to go into that today. So why does the pavement fail only in certain spots? So you guys know this right now as much as ever. This is, what season is this right now? Well, SIRIC is kind of dragging on, but it's pothole season, right? So this is a picture of a road I took several years ago, and that road has since been repaved, but it looks like that again. So out in the middle of the road, you can see that that pavement is just fine. So do you think the asphalt was bad? No, the asphalt was good, right? So what's going on there where the water is? So here's another example. This is an improper driveway. As you can see, that driveway comes off of the hill to our paved road. And do you see a culvert? No. Do you see a sag in the driveway? No. So it's bringing all kinds of water to our road. Not only is it flowing straight down the surface of the driveway, but it's also blocking the ditch, causing water to get out there and saturate the roadbed. and you can see there's a slip there. And you can see my road bike in the upper left corner of that picture. Eventually I had to switch to my mountain bike. This road got so bad. And it was all because of poor drainage. And so this was the repair that was done. And you can see that nothing was done to the driveway. We just paved over it, wasted our money paving this road that we know is going to crumble again. And so here's a slide caused by logs in a ditch. And this picture was taken after the repair was made. They built a soil nail wall there, as you can see behind the paddles. And you can also see logs laying over the hill. But if you look on the right side of the road, you can also see more logs still laying in the ditch. So we spent all this money, we repaved the road, we put up a soil nail wall, and we only threw one of the logs out of the way, and we left the ditch still clogged. Here's another classic. I remember seeing a picture of this spot when I first moved here 30 years ago in one of the local newspapers, and it said, see, the DOH doesn't even care. They just leave a mess. And so this is a more recent picture, and that's still the case. And you can see a big shale bank on the left side there. And that stuff just crumbles into the ditch, and the water just lays there. And this spot has actually gotten a lot worse. There's a significant subsidence of the pavement. It's dropped about a foot where this location is. And here's a place where someone tried to build a driveway straight off. So, you know, classic 1.5 to 1, 2 to 1 slope. And I think I need another driveway. One driveway is not good enough, so I'll build one here. Well, eventually they gave up on it, but it still left a mess. You can see muddy water standing in the ditch from erosion coming off the hill and then blocking the flow of the ditch. So back to my original spot and my original question. Why does the pavement fail only in certain spots? Of course, drainage. So we're starting to work on that a little bit at Highways. We are going to make a greater investment in our drainage to better protect the pavements that you guys work so hard to provide for us. One of the things that the operations in the districts are already doing is they're going to start inventorying and inspecting culverts down to 5 feet. And I think that's a good first step. You know, before there was, you know, bridges, anything over 20 feet is a bridge. And then the less than 20 structures, they would pay a little bit of attention to those. But now they're going to put a greater priority on those smaller structures. And we also have a pending research project that will look at all the culverts eventually. And hopefully we can get to where the drainage structures which support our roads will be part of asset management. All right, so typical sections here. One of my colleagues said I would be remiss if I didn't remind you guys about cross slope. So whenever you overlay a job, how do you know what the cross slope is supposed to be? Is it based on, first, whatever it is now, you just match it? Or is it two, based on the highway standards that say it ought to be 2%? Which do you do? Do you just meet what's there, or do you put it back to what you know it ought to be? So that's the first thing. But that wasn't really the point of my my slide here. My point is the ditch needs to protect our pavement from drainage. And so the top picture there, not so good. You just got a little tiny ditch there. And as long as it's graded correctly, as long as it has longitudinal slope and doesn't have holes, eventually that the little bit of water that gets in that ditch will get out. Now it's better if we make the ditch wider and put it a little further from the road, and that will drain the surface of the road. But in the middle picture there where it says existing road upgrade, what about if that water stays in the ditch for a while? What happens to your base course and to your subgrade? They stay saturated, they stay wet, they're weakened, and they crumble. So the bottom picture there is the best option if you meet the standard and make the ditch deep enough and far enough away and has the proper slope so that not only it will drain the water, it will keep the subgrade from being saturated, and it will also not fall in. All right, so what if we had buckets that were designed to cut a proper ditch slope? Who has ever seen one of these? A bucket that looks like this shape. Tommy's seen one. I saw one, and we had a foreign contractor from Pennsylvania working on the job for us, and he had one of these. And I thought, wow, that's a great idea. So in a perfect world, we would buy more right-of-way and make room for sustainable slopes and ditches. But most of our roads started out as maybe a snake trail, then maybe a horse, and then maybe a buggy, and then eventually a car. But we bought right-of-way back when cars were about as wide as this podium. And so that's all we have. And we don't have any more, and it seems we can't get any more. So if that's going to continue to be the case, the priorities that you need to look at is first, make sure your ditch has a longitudinal slope. Make sure it doesn't have valleys in between places where the water can escape through a pipe or over the hill in some way. The second part is cross slope. Pulling ditches, remember the bucket I showed you a minute ago? If you pull ditches with that, then it's going to leave you a nice slope that's going to last. It's going to be sustainable, and it's not going to just cave in the next time it rains. So if you can make the cross slope appropriate, then that's the next priority. And then the third priority, as we talked about in the picture, is make sure it's deep enough so that it not only has adequate flow capacity, but also it will drain the subgrade so that your pavements are not saturated and crumbled. So protect our investment. A colleague of mine joked several years ago about right-of-way police. And I said, yeah, that's what we need. We need right-of-way police. You know, things that damage our road come from beside the road in a lot of cases. And so if we could control that better, that would be helpful. So the previous slide was not endorsed by management of the highway department, but this one is. So this is a quote from Secretary Rumbaugh talking to the legislature last week. And the idea here is that we are indeed going to focus on drainage. As you know, we have a legacy of temporary pipes under permanent roads, and we're going to work to remedy that situation. I don't know if I'll last long enough for that to happen, but we'll get it started anyway. And so that is something to look forward to. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Eric.
Doug, thank you. Those are issues I see. I want us to get back to doing things that need to be done. I want our roadways that you provide to us to last longer, and that's where it starts. So I appreciate you being here, Doug. Next, to cover civil rights and ADA updates will be David Ballard and Alexander Hunt.
Well, good morning. I'm David Ballard, Assistant Director of the Civil Rights Division. I don't have a PowerPoint because what I have to say really didn't go with the PowerPoint, but what's on most of your minds is probably the federal wage determinations and the changes that's been happening with those. If you don't know, at the end of November, the U.S. Department of Labor changed all the wage rates for the state of West Virginia. So we went from one statewide determination to 33 separate determinations. And most of those are separated out by either individual counties or a grouping of counties. But what the Labor Department did with these changes is they eliminated several frequently used classifications that you guys use. And that's what's creating problems right now in our construction program. Big things that they removed was highway striping operators. That classification no longer exists. They eliminated all the off-road trucks. They eliminated all signal and lighting electricians. They eliminated all painters. And they eliminated all trucks except a dump truck. So every project has some type of a truck on it. And they have now eliminated that. So we have filed an appeal to the Labor Department to try to get this mess cleaned up. We are still working through that process with those folks in Washington DC, so I don't know how long that's going to take. Don't know if they will give us any relief. But what we have to do for now is called a conformance process. So before you bid a project, you're going to have to really pay attention to those wage rates. And you're going to have to see if a classification that you need isn't on there. And if it's not on there, you're going to have to request conformance. So DOL says there's two ways we could have done this. Option A was we, the agency, can ask for classifications and rates before a project is let. Or B, contractors can ask for the rates after the project is awarded to them. So we tried option A, which was simple. We wanted to have the rates established, have it in the letting, have everything set before the project started. We submitted about 30, 40 requests. All were rejected. We had a phone call with DOL. DOL basically told us, we're not going to accept any requests you guys make. We're not going to entertain that option. We don't have the procedures in place to do that. So they've told us the only option we have is option B, which is after a project is awarded, the prime contractor has to make the request for what classes they need to DOL through us. So again, you're really going to have to pay attention to those wage rates to see if there's something on there you're going to need. All paving projects is going to need the lines painted on the road. So you might as well guarantee you're going to have to ask for a conformance. You've got to coordinate that through us and your subcontractors. Guardrail installation. There's a class on there now that's called Laborer Guardrail Installer. Well, that class only covers maybe 30 counties. The other 25 counties doesn't exist. So if you're installing guardrail in one of those counties, you're going to have to go through the conformance process. So there is a specific form that DOL wants to request these conformances. I will help you guys along through this. Just like a day or two ago, West Virginia Paving submitted the first round of these conformances. So Josh is really getting educated on what that entails. Along with that form, you have to list exactly what classification you want, what hourly wage rate you want to pay, and what hourly fringe rate you want to pay. You have to give a description of the type of work that's going to be performed. Your subcontractor, if there's a subcontractor has to sign off on it. Prime contractor has to sign off on it. And then an employee representative also has to sign that they agree. So if you're a union company, a union representative can sign. Anything else? Anybody that wants to represent the employees. Those 3 signatures have to be in place on that form. When we get those, there's some other documentation that we in civil rights have to attach to those. We send them off to Washington, D.C., and DOL has up to 30 days to provide us a response. So when you get awarded a project, the sooner you can submit those requests, the better you're going to be. I know it's wreaking havoc right now with you guys and your bids. You don't know what to bid. You don't know what price to put on there. We're just in as much turmoil right now as you are. Since November, they have changed these wage rates 6 times. So they are constantly changing these things right now, and we don't know when it's going to stop. Are there any questions right now about those wage rates? All right. Other thing is, just to touch on what Sean said with AWP, with the October 8th letting, the Civil Rights and Labor module became active. So any project from October forward, all those payrolls and prompt payments are done electronically now and submitted in AWP. We have about a half a dozen projects right now that are going. We have contractors that are putting payrolls in. We're seeing some issues, so we are working with the contractors. And we're giving trainings upon request. If you guys want our people to come down to your office, we'll be more than glad to come down and can give you all the help and training you need. We did it for West Virginia Paving and all their subs a couple of weeks ago. We have a crew in Jefferson County right now doing it for WL and all the pavers and subs up in that area. We have online virtual trainings that we're doing every week. You know, that schedule's on our website, the Civil Rights page of the DOT website. We're not getting very much attendance in those right now, so I would stress, have your payroll people please get in on those trainings. The computer-based trainings, the self-taught courses, they're also on our website. Please make sure your folks are going through those as well. We have contractors that are trying to enter things right now in AWP without going through those trainings, and they're just really creating problems for themselves. So again, make sure you're going through those trainings. All the information you need about payroll and prompt pay submission is on our website. We're more than happy to help you through the process as much as you need. And again, for the conformances, get a hold of me. I'll get you lined out on what you have to do to get you started through the process. And that way, from now on, until things change, you'll know what to do. Any questions? All right, that's it for my part. Thank you.
All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Alex Hunt. I'm the ADA Program Manager with the DOT. I'm sure a lot of you guys have worked with and know my boss, Ray Patrick. He was asked to say a few things this morning, but unfortunately, he had prior obligations, so you are stuck with me. What is the ADA? It is not the American Dental Association, like a lot of people think. It is the American with Disability Act, and it pretty much just prohibits any discrimination against people with disability. Why is it important? It's important because two reasons. Number one, it's the law, but also West Virginia is the most handicapped state in the country. Year after year, we, both on physical disability and overall disability, we take that number one spot. As you see, Mississippi and Kentucky, they usually battle it out between 2 and 3, but West Virginia is steady at number one with 19.6, almost 1/5 of our population has some sort of a physical disability. So because of this, the powers that be have set aside $15 million in the STIP for 10 years to upgrade the ADA infrastructure. So we've been really aggressive with upgrading these curb ramps. And after it's all said and done, we're going to have about 20,000 new curb ramps throughout the state. So in 2013, the Department of Justice and the Federal Department of Transportation put out this joint memo that pretty much says any projects that are deemed to be alterations have to have compliant curb ramps prior to or in conjunction with the project. So they kind of broke down what alteration versus maintenance is, and the big one is obviously paving. And so with that, how that affects you guys is when these ramps are put in, they are all flush with the roadway. So when the paving comes through after the ramps are put in, they need to continue to be flush. And so I just got a few pictures and examples of good and bad ramps that have been put in within the last few years. As you see, that from the entire width of the ramp where the curb would be needs to be flush. So here's a few good pictures. One good way that Ray likes to say if it's flush is if you drag your foot across of it and it stops at any point, then it's not flush. So it needs to just be a continually smooth transition. Here's a couple things to avoid. That obviously, when a person in a wheelchair is going to go over that, they're going to get stuck. An able-bodied person, regardless if they have a seeing vision problem or not, they can still trip and fall over that very easily. So when these roads get paved, just please make sure that they're flush with the roadway. A couple more examples. There's, don't go above and don't go below. You don't want that lip. And again, it needs to be from where the curb starts till the curb ends. And again, if you're just paving the main street and you don't have that side street, you still need to pave the entire radius of that curb ramp. And you can just stop at the end of the curb and continue, but that even if you're not paving that side street, the entire width of that ramp needs to be flush. There's another example of that, both lip and does not go the full radius. And that's pretty much all I have this morning. So again, it's not that you need to do anything other than just make sure that it's flush. You need to make sure that somebody in a wheelchair that's using it, because we have the most people in wheelchairs per capita, so these ramps are getting used. You just need to make sure that they have easy access, rollable access from one side of the street to the other. That's pretty much it from my part. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, gentlemen. There were a lot of updates there. They were important. So thank you guys for being here and providing this to us. Next, I'd like to welcome our spirited Jeannie Atkins. She's with our technical support division. She's kind of working by herself and has a big load on her shoulders. So I know it's a big deal for her to be here. She's doing a great job. So Jeannie, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. Can you hear me okay? There we go.
Nice. And the clicker should be on the podium somewhere if you need it.
Y'all, I don't do podiums, I'm 5'1", so let's just pretext that. All right, greetings in the morning. Thank you so much for having me. I'm going to be doing the specification update. All right. Today, I'm going to need help doing my specification update, hence my gift bags. So, I'm going to need 4 volunteers, preferably from industry today, to help me out. You got about 10 seconds, or I'm going to start volunteering. John Taylor, thank you so much for volunteering. You get bag number 1. Inside bag number 1, there's a little thing I would like you to read. So rip off that tissue paper and read me that question.
When and where are the specification committee meetings held?
They are held in, thank you, they are held in Building 5, 8th floor, towards the interstate side, 820 for being more specific. We meet at the beginning of every other month. We're on an odd month rotation right now. We used to be more on an even month rotation, but that was putting the spec meeting ending in December, and we were noticing that, hey, maybe we should give FHWA more time for review so we can get concurrence and, Christmas and all the holidays. So we're going to end in November. So the next meeting is going to be March 5th. So we post our agenda and minutes on our webpage, and also that tells you when our deadlines, happen for our comments and submissions and all that good stuff. So check out our webpage. And if you'd like to be on our distribution list, we'd love to have you. So please get on it. So, I need a second volunteer today. Jason. Thank you for volunteering. All right, read me off that question down in there.
No problem. Are you guys going to print the 2025 supplemental specifications?
Yes. We are. We're going to be printing them. We're waiting for our proof to get back. We're printing them downstairs in our print shop in Building 5. And so once we get those, we'll update our order form and send out a heads up to everyone on that distribution list so that they're available. But if you need them right now, they're on our webpage for free. You can download them. Or if you're just a fan of control find like I am. So, find them there. Alrighty, I need a third volunteer.
Jeffrey Roberts.
Alright, I'm just gonna start picking people. Keep you on your toes a little bit this morning. There you go. Thank you so much for volunteering.
Was there anything important approved in 2024?
So these are questions that Crane usually asks me. He'll call me and be like, is there anything important approved that I should be aware of? And so let's get back in our TARDIS. If you're a Doctor Who fan, any Whovians here? Oh, yeah, it represents. And so let's go back to probably, I think, roughly August or October when 720 was approved for smoothness testing. And so here, we started this as just like a couple paragraph updates, and then we ended up being a whole section rewrite. So please check that out. We've got updates to the turnaround time for testing and the removal of Schedule 3 paving on that one. And our fourth and final volunteer, let's use this side, over here a little bit. Any volunteers? Get this quick one. All right, oh, made eye contact with you. You can help me out. Thank you so much, Nate.
What's going on in committee now? Or what's going on now in committee?
All right. So recently, our first specification meeting this year was in January, and we approved one special provision, 695 mainline pavement. This was vetted through our asphalt joint subcommittee meeting. Basically, we had language in there that wasn't driving right with the asphalt language, so we removed the thickness testing portion of that out. If you got any questions on that, Vince Allison is the champion of that item. It's right there. So currently in committee, we have 8 total special provisions. And just to kind of give you a little context, we had 8 total specifications approved in the entire 2024 year. We already have 8 in committee now. So please pay attention, be aware. One I really want to highlight is Special Provision 106, Build America, Buy America. Dan Brayak over here, he called me up one day, he goes, Jane, I said, hey Dan, how are you doing? And he goes, we need to update this spec. And I said, let's do it. So we met with our FHWA representative and came up with a special provision, and we're updating the materials procedure to align with it and puzzle it just right into the spec. But essentially, we've added a definition for manufactured products and state and or federal use of manufactured products. And so the gist of this is that the final assembly of those manufactured products has to be done in America. And so this will need to be added to proposals when the project is authorized by the Fed on October 1st or later. All right, currently we have 19 specifications in our committee right now. Our agenda is close to 130 pages. So again, going back to that distribution list, if you really like to be put on it, we'd love to have you. We really do appreciate your input. So I want to highlight just a few. Dare I say it, the concrete word. There are a lot of concrete specs, but we also have some pretty big 410 spec coming up. This was vetted through also our asphalt joint subcommittee meeting, and we got to talk about it yesterday. So let's talk about that. So we're updating our bond strength and our bond strength adjustments. So the revision waivers, waives negative price adjustments given a proper tax code application as per a contractor's quality control plan. Sean's going to talk about this later, so I just wanted to really make y'all aware of what's going on and just, hey, this is in committee, so just be aware of it. And then to piggyback off of Alex a little bit, we're updating our 609 tactile warning surface, so making sure that meets AASHTO product evaluation and audit solutions testing T388, and so we're updating our dome size requirements for that. And lastly, I'd like to first say it has been a pleasure to work with Doug Kirk on this. I've learned a lot about seeding and mulching and fertilizer. So in committee last time, we had an update to section 651, furnishing and placing the soil, section 652, seeding and mulching, section 715.25 through 32, and new in committee is section 642, silt fence. So a lot of these are big section rewrites. These haven't been touched in a long time. We did meet with a few folks about a year or so ago. And so, in committee last time, this has been updated from last committee, the section 652, 651, there were no updates. But, industry reached out and said, hey, what about 18460 fertilizer? And then Doug came down to my office and he goes, hey, here it is. And so we were able to put it in and update some of our language there. And also in the 715.25 to 32, we've updated our purity percentages and germination percentages. So check those out. And then 642 silt fence, we're adding 3 different types of silt fence. So temporary silt fence, standard silt fence, which is silt fence, we're just adding a term in front of that, and then high strength silt fence. So just be aware of what's going on in committee. We'd really love to have you. And thank you so much for having me today. And, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Jeannie, you're the only person I know that can make specifications fun. Thank you. Appreciate you being here. This brings us to the Q&A portion. If I can get our topic experts to please come up to the front, we'll answer questions that were submitted to the division from the industry. I'm going to try to have everybody answer a round of questions at a time to kind of expedite this. So hopefully it'll save some time or we don't have to trade off.
Okay, John, first question.
All right, so these most all these questions were submitted. Can everybody hear me all right? Thumbs up in the back. Is it even on? Maybe that's why. How about now? How about now? There we go. Okay. We should be able to leave that in the middle. All right, can everybody hear me? Good. So these questions were mostly submitted by the industry to the DOH. I've got me and Dave Withrow up here. We're going to read the questions out, and the DOH can answer them and maybe explain any more than what's on the screen there. So first question, how much contract work is expected to be let this year?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Johanna Said, the Chief Engineer on Planning and Program Implementation. So I'll do my best, and especially on these ones, Jake is in the room, so I refer to him if I don't do a good job on those. But based on what we have so far, over $12 million worth of pavement work is expected to be let by mid-July.
How much PO work is available for the spring? What is the expected PO work for the fiscal year of 2026?
As usual, most of this work, which is around $12.1 million, is PO work, except of the smaller job or the job like slips or one-lane roads that we prefer to have our group do the job for the time limitation, and sometimes it's not of particular interest for the contractors. So that's pretty much the majority of it is PO work.
What part of DOH's program will be state force paving? This is important to know up front, as industry has a hard time planning when a large influx of projects are inserted into the program late into the season, as was the case last year when the DOH stopped their paving program.
Right, so like I said, it's the one lane roads and also the rush projects like the smaller slips or whatever that we need to done in a time sensitive. Jake, anything you'd like to add on this? Good.
We don't know what the funding level is right now. We're in the middle of dealing with floods and snowstorms in parts of our state, and our annual plan budgets were some, if not a lot of that funding comes from to do that paving. We're not exactly sure where we're going to be once we get through this winter, so if we can get Mother Nature to cooperate a little bit, and we can get a handle on what that looks like, then we can probably give you all a little bit more of an idea as we go through.
What are the DOH's expectations for a general fund transfer in 2025?
So we were lucky with the past few years to get general funds, but we don't expect any this year or in the near future to get any general surplus fund.
Boy, that's heartbreaking.
Why did the SDIP dramatically change last March? Why was roughly 50 to 100 million removed from the payment program each fiscal year?
So the STIP is a federally constrained, our federally constrained program. So last year and the past actually a couple of years, priorities been shuffled a little bit, and as you all know, we heavily depend on federal funding. So, and with the price inflation, especially with our bridge program and all of this, and also we had to include the big expansion project Corridor H, King Cole, and other projects that you're aware of the work ongoing. So you have to do the balance. We look at, it was at this point more of a mathematical balance because we have to balance the STIP to get to zero at the end of the federal year. So that version of the STIP was based on the priorities that we had at that time. And you're all aware, we have an aging bridge. All our bridges are aging around the states, and we had to push out some of these projects. So unfortunately, it came on the expense of reducing the allocations for the pavement. We're all aware that should not be the case, and actually right now we're running our pavement and bridge systems to come up with recommendation for the next step. So we're getting ready to have a new step. Sometimes maybe not this year, maybe next year, but we're working on a new step. If not, at least we're working on a step amendment, and we're discussing with management and about what should be making recommendation about how the step should look like to maintain our pavement at the level it should be, and at the same time take care of all our needs. You've heard Doc talking about the drainage, and Secretary Ramos, that's the direction we're getting. We need to take care of the drainage. I'm very sure we're gonna have to go back and rebalance the STIP and look at how to bring back the assets fundings at the level it should be. So I don't have a lot of details right now on the numbers that's going to be there. Also keep in mind there is so many uncertainties about the federal funding. We've been very, very lucky the past 2 years to get awarded a lot of grants. We averaged $300 million of grants in the past 2 years, only for transportation. And it helped us a lot to free up some funding for all the others, assets and pavement and bridges and all of that. But I don't have a lot of guidance and information on how the country is moving forward as far as the discretionary grant program yet. But we don't anticipate to get as much fund as we got in the previous 2 years. So with this all going on and how our heavily dependence on the federal funding, it's really a challenge to balance the step and at the very end, try to maintain the system. But our priority is to maintain the system, whether bridge or pavement. Of course, bridge costs more fund and take a longer time, but we're definitely not going to simplify the pavement. So in the pavement teams on operation, they're working so hard, helping me to come up with the best scenarios to rebalance the fundings in our federal program, and hopefully we'll be able to share something very soon. But we're determined to provide the funding needed for these assets as much as possible.
And step into the operations question.
I put the question in there.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
What kind of candy does a highway eat?
Pavement.
Pavements.
Not that one in there
Oh, Eric's gonna get me a couple times, I bet. At some plants, industry is experiencing a rapid deficit, which forces them to produce 100% virgin aggregate products. This material change adds significant cost to the DOH. Would the DOH consider relaxing the retainage of REP from projects?
Right now, the answer is no, but please notice that this is a no at this time. We want to be efficient, and if we are approved that it could be utilized more efficiently, that could change. It's not a decision I make, but I encourage better revenues myself.
Will industry see a return of the purchasing card for PO contracts? If so, when?
Not at this time. I did talk to our procurement staff about this. They don't want to rule this out, but POs can also cause some other issues. POs can exceed the hard limit of a P card. So it's not to say that there might not be an eventual return.
From listening to the legislator, you might have a hand forced upon you on that one. So just a heads up, the new state auditor seemed to think they wanted to use the P card for highways more often. So just a heads up.
That sounds good. I'll let the procurement know.
Okay. With price fluctuating in materials and labor, will the DOH consider the purchase order paving contract to be bid on a 6-month time basis? This would reduce risk on the contractor by allowing revisions to the bid prices more often and to adjust for price variations, which would overall save the state funds by reducing the contractor's risks.
Again, I've talked to procurement about this. I don't really have anything to add other than no, other than the reasons that we see it's not practical. And we want to award asphalt contracts out of season.
Would the DOH allow a small percentage of purchase order projects to be awarded during the closeout of a given fiscal year? Not awarding 100% of future projects is understood as budgets may not be finalized, but this lieu in projects result in a gap of work during peak paving times. This then results in a rush at the end of the year to get projects completed.
I understand that, I've seen it, but this is at the discretion of the districts, so I encourage you to speak to your district engineers, district managers. There's not really a restriction, and to my understanding, an agency delivery order can be entered up to a year in advance should the district choose to allocate the fundings that way.
I guess stepping over to construction, are there any major initiatives our new administration is undertaking that industry should know about, and can industry help in any way?
All right, so this seems like more of a big picture question. Maybe Secretary Rumbaugh can speak more to that as far as major initiatives and what he's thinking moving forward. As far as how industry can help, I mean, continue working with us, participate in spec meetings, come visit Jane, look at the agenda, make comments on things that you see, if you can attend the meeting, and just reach out to us, communicate. So if you got issues, don't hesitate to speak to the relevant people that can help, and, start low, on the totem pole and work yourself up, and we'll work with you.
How much of a change in scope of work is acceptable before a project should be rebid? For example, if a project was advertised as strictly night work, and no amendment was advertised during the letting, why is that project then allowed to be changed after award to daytime work? In some situations, if a project like this were to have been advertised originally as daytime work, more bidders may have been involved.
So, yeah, I mean, it's always preferable to make these changes or to put the scope pre-bid. So if there's something, that you see, then I suggest and hope that you point that out to us, and hopefully we can get an amendment process. If not, and we get into it and things happen and you may propose something, or depending on what's going on, we may want to back up and propose something and change the scope as far as maybe working time and that type of stuff. So typically, time is of the essence sometimes, and it's not in our best interest to rebid something. But, things change. And if need be, if you propose something that's better, we can look at it, that any change would be done with the change order and potentially the associated cost credit with that.
All right. There have been numerous situations where district construction folks cannot make or overrule changes to a project unless approved by the project's design engineer. Some of these situations have led to a longer construction time and/or increased construction costs, with some of these situations likely producing a lower overall quality final product than we could have had. Why is this engineering fallacy occurring?
I don't know what we're talking about. I don't know how big or small these changes or concerns are. I'd like to hear from them, not really here if need be, but come out to the side and bring me up to date on what's going on. But I mean, ultimately, our project personnel should be making decisions that adhere to the scope that are the intent of the project. So if they feel that's outside of that, then they can discuss things with the engineer of record if they need to make changes. At a minimum, the PM should be consulted if they want to make the changes. So, if you're talking about pavement thickness changes, stuff like that, I mean, that's kind of different, and the PM and engineer of record needs to be consulted with that.
So just to follow up on that, we did talk about a couple of things yesterday. There's an example of the pavement on I-79 where we paved two surface lists, one on top of each other on the interstate to get a 3-inch overlay, which could have switched to a different process there. Traffic control requirements done through the project that don't quite make sense. There, once we get onto the project, and then this one's kind of everlasting PWL on bridge approaches. But I think we've pretty much kind of taken care of that one.
I'll move into materials. Many projects that require milling often end up with scabbing areas. These areas, which may adequately adhere to the existing pavement structure, have a tendency to fail when compacted efforts is applied to the overlay. This can lead to the potential for potholes, early fatigue distress, lack of uniformity of the pavement structure, and ultimately premature failure. As the DOH consider core drilling projects prior to the letting to help establish an actual thickness needed for milling. If scab areas are encountered on the project, can the DOH permit its inspectors to authorize a change order to mill deeper, allowing a 1/4 to a 1/2 inch of additional milling would give the DOH their performing payment, especially on demos.
The DOH appreciates concern with the scabbing issues. Of course, we aim for long-lasting pavements and thus would like to reduce scabbing as much as possible. Our drillers do have a full schedule, and pouring every project includes milling would be near insurmountable task. However, we are happy to work with industry to discuss and determine appropriate applicability and what would be an appropriate number of cores to drill, or if need be, some other alternatives. So, I mean, it seems just like a huge amount of work for us. So if you all have some recommendations or suggestions, I mean, we're willing to work with you on that, of course. Also, section 415.2.6 states it directed by the engineer. Any spalling or dislodged unsound pavement during the milling should be corrected by the contractor via section 100.4.
Could the West Virginia DOH please outline for everyone how to determine if a product is AASHTO product evaluation and audit solutions approved? Many products have specifications that require this type of approval. For example, asphalt release agents. However, how do we determine the product is approved or not? And then just a little more on that. If you go to the site, the AASHTO product evaluation site, unless the information is publicly displayed, you can't see it. So we have no way of knowing.
Okay, so basically, if y'all are, who here is familiar with what used to be HEP AASHTO product evaluation and audit solutions? Hand in the air if you have no idea what we're talking about. Okay, let me just back up and give you a little bit of a background information. There's a program with AASHTO, it's called AASHTO Product Evaluation and Audit Solutions. First off, they don't approve material. What they do is sample and test material and provide audits. Basically, the gist is why have West Virginia test rebar, why have, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Florida, Texas all do the exact same test on rebar. It's costly to get the material, it's costly to test it. So we kind of warehouse this testing and then everyone has access to those test results. Now, with a lot of these materials, there's proprietary information in there, like certain percentages, test results, that sort of thing. So it is actually behind a wall. So like you can't, John couldn't go on there and see, all the different asphalt release agents or whatever, what their actual testing properties were. But let me go back on my script here. They're not evaluated by APs, they're evaluated as a measure to eliminate duplication of testing efforts. For the release agents, the manufacturer of release agents should provide information to demonstrate their product has been evaluated. So if you're a company who has submitted your product to be evaluated, you do have that documentation. So, if asked, they should have that. Currently, there's 78 unique products that have been evaluated. As a response to the concern, we can publish a list of evaluated release agents on our APL. And whenever we do have a submission for our approved product list, if it's something that is AP's required, we actually will evaluate it based on that. So if it's AP's required and it's on our approved list, then by default, it meets that, requirement. All right. This will not be an approved list, but it'll be a resource for producers to help determine whether a product they're using has been evaluated. For mixtures using meat binders, the ARA producer supplier must still certify the product as harmless to the mix. For mixes using polymer modified binding agents, it must be recommended by the binder supplier. So just because something is AP's evaluated on our approved list, there still can be additional tests. So you need to be familiar with the specification on that.
Okay. So when producers are looking for material for release agents, they should be receiving that AASHTO resource or whatever that APs, basically certification and testing for that.
Yeah.
Would the DOH consider altering the small tonnage sampling requirements, especially during pothole patching season? Producing such small tonnage is not conducive to achieving equilibrium and stable plant operation.
I'm like trying to hope you're not asking if, if the material, you can just put whatever you want down. I know you're not asking that. Quality mixed production should always be the intent of the producer. We acknowledge producing very small quantities can present a challenge. We're currently revising the language for small quantities and applicable MPs for both commercial and super pay.
Have the existing Sammy Seal projects been performing? Well, I guess, how have they been performing? Has the DOH seen a significant performance increase reflective cracking?
I'll go ahead and butcher my hands here just to help you out.
Thank you. Gosh.
Yeah, they have been performing well overall. Although there's been some isolated issues and lessons learned in construction, most districts are happy with their performance. Roadway data and saving projects are being monitored. So like anything, obviously, things are going to go wrong, but we figure out those things and we go well going forward. I know we have a project in Kanawha City, and I drive that every day, and it's looking pretty good.
You might not know this offhand. Vince might. Do you have a kind of a projected life expectancy extension from that stuff?
Not yet. I know that we're trying to work with our condition data to create those graphs. I think we're getting to the point where these projects are old enough that we can do that, but yeah, we're interested in seeing that ourselves as well.
Because our first Sammy was 4 or 5 years ago.
Maybe even
Maybe
further than that.
2016.
Okay.
2016.
Yeah.
Just off the cuff, do we have any side-by-side comparisons?
That's hard to get,
I know,
but
even on the same project.
Yeah.
I think we have enough data that we can make an assessment that.
Bond strength is still an issue facing industry. Industry members have tried basically everything for years to meet the specification but still come up short. Will the DOH consider relaxing the specification? Are we even sure that the test is representative of field performance?
The industry, the efforts of industry is not lost on us, and we appreciate the willingness to help us improve our PWL program. We're in the process of making changes to the spec. Please feel free to attend the open spec committee meeting and be part of the process. Quality, tack, and good layer bond strength are both important. Our intention is to encourage quality tack coats, which we believe will lead to good bond strength. Sean Jack will provide more details during his presentation this afternoon.
Projects are still being advertised for bridge deck replacements and other similar type projects with PWL as specified for asphalt pavements. On these projects, these quantities required are not in accordance with the restrictions in the design directives for the PWL. Can the designers be reminded of these size requirements?
So it's not the intent of the DOH for small projects to utilize PWL, obviously. The DOH does its best at preventing this. However, if this issue arises, please ask the question on BidX. This will be discussed at the next Fall Designers Conference as well.
Thank you.
Moving on to Ashley-ware, with all the different modules being implemented with AWP, would the DOH consider making a general web-based landing page for Ashley-ware, which has general information about requirements, outlines the process to gain access to the respective modules, etc.?
This is a pretty good idea. I actually was discussing this with Russ Keys. I do the materials AWP stuff, and Russ is the lead on the construction. So if I reference Russ, that's kind of why. I mean, obviously we work hand in hand, but that's something we could look into. We'll get back to you all on that.
How many people in the room use AWP already on their project?
Hands high, please.
Yeah. How many people are expecting to do that this year? Everybody's hand probably should be up at this point. So, how many people have had training through the materials or the contract administration people how to use it? Okay, Dan, we might want to talk about more training.
All right. Okay. Okay, so can I?
Go ahead, yeah.
Okay, so, last year we had a series of trainings. We had them basically every month online, and we had some in person. We had some with pretty good attendance, but a lot of them, nobody showed up at all. So, I mean, we'll work with John. We could pretty much schedule one of these like tomorrow or next week, you know, I mean, we have the stuff. Our trainers are very good at what they do. So if you need this, and let's just say you want to get, you know, your company together and have 4 or 5 people come on over to materials division to do an in-person training, like, we would definitely do that with you. I think really that's the best way to do it. Online is not always great because we can't see if you're struggling or, you know, if we're going too slow. So we would encourage you to reach out to us. And I assume the same for Russ and for CRL, right? So, okay.
When requesting access, can the process be streamlined? Can a contractor submit a single list of employees for a project, and then their access levels for sample entry, CRLs, change orders, etc.?
So, this can be accomplished aside from material access, which is given by MCS&T instead of contract administration. The districts still need to request some access for the contractor. The contractor's employees can only be given access by contract-specific authority. So, long story short on this is we don't want to be putting someone on a contract or in a role that they have no business being in. We had all the proprietary information anyways. We just want to put the bumpers on, so to give you the least opportunity to make mistakes as possible. So if we give you all 10 district roles, if you try to enter a District 2 sample as a District 4, that's not going to work. So like we're trying to guide folks and give them as little, you know, room for errors as possible.
So I guess to maybe give a little bit more background on that one, I know we submit forms to materials. Yes. I guess we submit forms to contract administration to establish that we need a login or whatever.
We also approve those. It's the same. I mean, our people. So Scott Abbott and Amy Taylor, they're looking at the same form. So if you go in to submit your name to get a quote login, you know, either Scott or Amy gets them. We basically have to work through OT, our internal. It's not like we can just create them. We have to send it through the process. So some of the questions are like a little weird, but we have to have those in order to meet the requirements for OT to be secure. Now, contract access is a different story. You know, let's just say, you know, you have 4 or 5 people on this project and they all want to do data entry, you know, you submit that to the district and then the district submits that to us and we put them all on there once we get approval. That has to come through the district because I don't know, you know, Tom Jones, he says he wants access to this contract, but the district really needs to be the person who's confirming that Tom Jones is going to be on this project. Did I get you on that, John?
Yeah, so, but like on that's, you know, we do that for material entry stuff, but then there's also the CRL stuff that we have to do on every project. I guess the question is really, can we, at the pre-construction meeting or whatever, can we submit a list that has all the list of people that are going to do sample entry, all the lists that are going to do CRL, and just submit that to the district and then let them break that down into the right direction it needs to go.
So you're saying instead of you all fill out the form, you want us to fill it out? Or do the
Well, I think we can just condense that form all into one thing. But
let me work with you off site and we can work through this process.
Will the DOH be implementing an automated approval process for AWP sample data entry? What are the potential plans? This would help to not delay payment to the prime contractor.
All right, the short answer on this is yes. Is it technically possible for us in AWP to do this? Yes. We're working on that and we're hoping to have a pilot project where this could theoretically happen here pretty soon. Now, we've been working with the districts a lot on this, and they're the first line of defense when it comes to reviewing, you know, quality control samples that come in from the contractors. Our plan is that, and you all should be getting a letter about this pretty soon, John, is that once we establish that a contractor is doing a good job, basically submitting a certain percentage of error-free sample records, they'll be given the pass. So once you have that, as long as, you're entering them, there'll be a 7-day period. If it's not reviewed by the district, I'm not gonna get too far into the weeds, but it'll count for payment. It'll still have to be reviewed by the district before, we finalize the project. But, you'll basically, as far as, and when you look at your reports, you'll be able to tell, like, this one hasn't been reviewed, but we're accepting it for payment. Now, we've set up a process for the district to actually reject a sample whenever there's issues with it, like major issues. So we could use that as a benchmark. So this is just off the cuff. This isn't gonna be what our metrics are, but let's just say, once you've submitted 50 samples and, better than 95% of those had no issues, you might get that free pass. And you have to maintain that. And if you go below a certain benchmark, then all of a sudden it comes back out. Now, working with the districts on this, I've been doing some spot checks myself. We're not even close to getting where we feel like would be, the errors are very persistent. I mean, a lot of them are minor. A lot of the times the district will just fix it for you. Like, for example, I was working with District 8 and we were going through and the contractor had entered all the wrong mix designs. So, Brad just went through and fixed it, okay, there's this, and fixed it and corrected it for y'all. So he didn't say anything back to you. But we're gonna work with the districts to establish what a benchmark is for actually getting the rejection or quote, getting the ding. So, yes.
With AWP in place, will the contractor be able to see quantities on their projects in real time that will be paid out on the upcoming pay estimate for their cutoff date for the pay estimate?
I know materials for sure already shows the posted quantity. With contractors, you only roll numerous reports are available for generating. This information is there for you. If you just look around, if you're having trouble finding it, ask either your district or someone at Central. We'll show you where to find that. And if it's not to your sufficient liking, we could come up with something that is like exactly what you need. Okay.
What measures are being taken to make AWP more efficient and reduce lag between when work is performed in the field and when it is approved by the labs? There have been significant delays and miscommunication between DOH, field, and lab personnel.
All right, so when it comes to, making sure a process is working, the best thing to do is establish a metric and see how people are performing on that metric. We established the metric last fall after the conference where you all said this may be an issue. So we've been working with the district to make sure they're processing these in a timely manner. We've asked them to perform these within 7 days. Every month we send out a report that basically to the construction engineer and the DE, it says, here's how your district is performing. Here's how, things that are, or how long it took, so they can get on their people about making sure that these get done. We also created a specific report for the districts that'll show them basically all the things they need to do, so they could run the report and see that, Jim has a sample out here that they need to go get on that's been 4 or 5 days. And I won't get into the auto finalization, we already hit that one pretty much.
Does the West Virginia DOH see any changes coming to the DBE program based on the direction of the new federal government administration?
So, even though the president has canceled several executive orders that govern what we do, these programs are still covered under the Code of Federal Regulations. So by law, we're still doing them. At this time, we are unaware and we've not been advised of any attempts or changes to repeal or otherwise change those programs.
With the DBE goals being removed from so many projects recently due to the ongoing litigation, will DBE goals on future projects be inflated to ensure overall utilization goal is met?
So that's something that we will look at on a case-by-case basis. Being realistic, for example, if a project has a 7% goal, it would not be easy to transpose that 7% from one project to another without impacting the calculations made for the other project. FHWA is aware that the DBE litigation might affect our overall DBE utilization.
Can industry be briefed on the ongoing issues with the lack of pay wage rates for certain job classifications? How should the prime deal with the situation upon award? Are there standard rates rate bidders can utilize until official rates are updated?
So I discussed that earlier. If you have a project where the classifications you need are missing, you're going to have to go through the conformance process. And I would strongly advise that you make those requests as soon as you get awarded, because if you work a classification on the job that doesn't have an established class or established wage rates, you're not going to be able to enter payrolls into AWP. If you can't enter payrolls into AWP, it's not going to process an estimate. And then you're also going to have trouble with federal labor laws for working unclassed people on the job site.
Was there, I think I heard there was an update to the wage rates. Were some of the ones that were missing now included, or?
No, none of the missing rates have been put back. The only changes they've made is increased some of the hourly wage rates for carpenters, crane operators, a couple other certain ones.
What is the status of the on-the-job training program in relation to the direction of the federal government?
So that's the same answer like the DBE question. That program is governed by Code of Federal Regulations. And at this time, we have not been made aware of any attempts to change that program.
I'm going to put the DOH on the spot. Does anybody else have any questions they want to ask? This is your chance. All right, you got off easy. Thank you guys for doing that.
I want to thank our presenters for taking their time to put together the presentations and providing their information to us this morning. We need the updates that they provided to us, and we need to be reminded about what is expected. Something that might not seem necessarily important to you is just let you know that it is important for laying down the asphalt itself. So I do want to conclude. I always concluded the district recall meetings asking you to be safe and remind your employees to be safe. I want everybody to go home to their families, and that's what we all want. Thank you for all your hard work and dedication. I know there is much that happens behind the scenes. And thank you, and John, for making the conferences here. Thank you for having us.
So it looks like we finished up a little bit early with the DOH. So I think we're supposed to come back at 10, if I'm not mistaken. So we can take a little bit of time. Maybe we'll come back couple minutes early, like 9:55, 9:50. So we can get started and make sure we get to lunch on time. So let's go ahead and break until you want to do 9:50, 9:55. So.
Good job. Perfect. I thought that was pretty smooth. I did too. Pretty smooth.